Hi everyone, Bill Duvendack here with the June 2022 monthly astrological preview video for the Cult of You. And, well, you know what? Needless to say, there's a lot going on, but I think you already know that. While we're starting off with June 1st, really let's rewind a little bit to May 30th, just a few days ago when we had the new moon in Gemini. And the reason I want to rewind to that is because, of course, Mercury is retrograde. Mercury is the ruling planet of Gemini, so this new moon is triggering a cycle of endings, new beginnings, specifically those that have to do with communication as well as being grounded, down to earth, practical, and situations that have to do with money. So we're going into that this month with a lot of emphasis on the transition. Now, those of you that have been watching this for a while, you know that we've been going through a long transitional period. One of the ways to interpret June is to see it as the very tail end of the transitional period that's been going on for quite a while. So for those of you that have been going through major life changes, this is a time to prep the early part of June for moving ahead, which happens a little bit later this month. Now, the seeds are already planted, so the finishing touches are what we're focusing on here. June 1st, we have the moon in Cancer square Mars in Aries, sextiling Venus in Taurus. It's a mouthful. And if you don't know astrology that well, or especially the aspects of astrology, that might seem kind of daunting and confusing. So let's break it down. First of all, Venus is the ruling planet of Taurus, and Venus is currently in Taurus. Mars is the ruling planet of Aries, and Mars is currently in Aries. Whenever you have a planet that rules a sign moving through that sign, it means that the energy of that planet manifests extra dynamically and extra strong in daily life. So Mars and Venus are playing major roles now. Now, the moon in Cancer squaring Mars in Aries tells us you might feel conflict between the home versus moving ahead, or something that I like to point out, whether or not to leave your comfort zone. The moon in Cancer is all about living in your comfort zone, and Mars in Aries is all about being bold, taking actions, and moving forward. So it's kind of the whole idea that you might not want to leave your house, but if you don't leave your house, you can't expect anything new to happen. Not that has to do with the outside world, and we're physically incarnated to experience the outside world, so then that's just fear, and fear is failure. The sextile to Venus and Taurus tells us that yes, that draw to creature comforts is strong. There's a lot of money to be made in the home. And if you do this, you might have to put pushing ahead on the back burner, but I encourage you to not write it off entirely. Just relegate it to second. Speaking of the second, June 2nd, we have that same moon in Cancer now squaring Chiron in Aries. Chiron is the planet of the wound and the wounded healer. When it's moving through Aries, it's all about a wounded sense of being or a wounded sense of self. And when you've got the moon in Cancer squaring that, basically what it's saying is that you might get easily offended. You might find that people say things without realizing it, and you're extra sensitive to their words at this time. Now, also on the 2nd, the moon in Cancer is at the same degree as the fixed star Sirius. So for those of you that work with Sirius energies, this would be a good time to do it. The 3rd, we have the moon in Cancer opposing Pluto in Capricorn. So watch out for short tempers, watch out for violence and explosiveness. Also, you might feel torn in between your divine feminine side and your divine masculine side. So be ready to come to terms with that. Are they out of balance? If they are out of balance, that's unhealthy, and I would encourage you to correct the situation. If they are in balance, then this is a time that you might find it wise to go within and see what transformations still need to be done. The 4th is a pretty active day, so put that on your radar. That's this coming Saturday. We have Mercury moving direct in Taurus. We have the moon in Leo squaring Venus in Taurus. And we have Saturn stationing retrograde. This is kind of interesting. So again, let's break it down. First of all, Mercury directing in Taurus tells us communication challenges may permeate the day. So watch what you say and who you say it to. The moon in Leo squaring Venus in Taurus says that emotionally you might want to put it out there for the whole world to see. You might want to be on the center stage of your life, loud and proud. And if you do that, it might cost you money, or it might cost you romantic relationships. So keep your ego in check. Watch out for arrogance and hubris. And if you approach everything with humility and slowly, you will most likely achieve success. Now, Saturn is stationing retrograde on this same day. Saturn is the planet of karma, lessons, limitation, foundation, anything having to do with time. And when it's stationing like this, oftentimes it may feel like you're moving through lead on a daily basis. Lead, of course, corresponds to Saturn as well. So if you're trying to hurry through things on the 4th, you might find that backfires. You might also find that karma comes back around quicker. And, this is a tricky situation because everybody wants karma to come back around in their lives. Until it comes back around, we refuse to accept. See, that's the kicker. We don't know what karma is being settled up. So to say you want to see karma in your life, or come back around as it were, well, that's noble. I get it. I'm that same way. But the attitude I take is that if karma is going to come back around, I don't know if it's going to be helpful to me or not. So I'm very cautious. It takes a very open mind and a strong sense of humility to navigate karma and extract the lessons. We have to be able to look in the mirror and say, I fucked up, I caused that, it's my fault. Karma just came back around to teach me that. Instead of trying to blame someone else and saying, I'm getting a bad shake from the universe. That's not the way it works. Now, Saturn is going to be direct for several months, so it's not going to be as intense, or it's going to be retrograde for several months. Sorry about that. And that means it's not going to be as intense as the Mercury retrograde was. So over the next few months, it's a good opportunity to review your protocols, review your procedures, and make appropriate changes in light of new information and new technology. Now, the 5th, we have the moon in Leo opposing that Saturn in Aquarius. And when you have the moon opposing Saturn, it tells us there might be an internal conflict between doing what's right and doing what feels good, or doing what is mature and responsible versus what is instant gratification. Now, the moon in Leo, we just talked about, it's all about creativity. It's a strong ego. It's good luck. It's good fortune. And Saturn in Aquarius is all about making long-term decisions that are focused on the group and society. So here you might find on Sunday the 5th that you're torn between wanting to do something for you versus doing something that would benefit others in your life. And there's no easy way to address that because the situations are so subjective that it's really up to you to read the situation and then respond accordingly. On the 7th, we have the moon in Virgo trining Venus in Taurus. And this tells us it's a good day for physical manifestation. It's a good day for love and romance. It's a good day to enjoy food with loved ones and just kind of hang out, make some money, be yourself, go with the flow, but make sure whatever you do that day has a point that will manifest into objective reality. Now, on the 8th, we still have that moon in Virgo, but now it's opposing Neptune in Pisces, and it's trining Mercury in Taurus. So the fact that it's opposing Neptune in Pisces tells us that you might have a hard time keeping your head out of the clouds. Or you may be working so hard that you feel things are spiritually lacking. Now, Neptune in Pisces also corresponds to addictions. So if you're prone to addictions, they might rear their ugly head strongly that day. So watch out for that. And the fact that the moon is trining Mercury in Taurus carries that theme from the 7th of this being a good day to manifest. So the 7th and 8th are prime opportunities for you to create physical changes in your life. So I'm talking about physical changes. I'm not talking about changing your mind to understand something. I'm talking about things like you don't like your financial situation, it's time to get a new or second job. You don't like your body for whatever image, now it's time to start working out. Is it time to paint the house? Is it time to mow the yard? Those are all good things to do that day too. Now, both of these also place an emphasis on the workplace. So make sure that you are paying attention in your career because there might be some opportunities for long-term growth that come your way one of those 2 days. On the 9th, we have the moon in Libra opposing Mars in Aries, which is conjunct Chiron in Aries. So here again, you might find that your emotions are out of sorts. You might be torn between impulsiveness and peacefulness. You might be torn between doing what's right versus doing what's diplomatic. And I'll let you in on a little secret. Oftentimes, diplomacy is used to do the right thing rather than being a manipulation tool. On the 10th, we have that same moon in Libra forming a grand air trine with Saturn in Aquarius and the Sun in Gemini. So a grand trine in air tells us that your inspiration might be stronger during this day. It's also a good day to learn a new subject if you're interested in it. You may have a lot of ideas come to your mind, but this aspect also tells us if you don't do anything with it, you might go to bed that night realizing you wasted the whole day because you were sitting around daydreaming rather than formulating plans. On the 11th, there's not a lot going on, but it is worth mentioning because there's going to be a subtle hidden Mars influence. On that day, the moon is in Scorpio and Scorpio is ruled by Mars, and we have Mars in Aries. And of course, as I said earlier, Mars rules Aries. So there is a subplot on the 11th of strong Mars energy. So watch your temper. Be careful that you don't fall prey to accidents. On the 12th, we have a fixed sign T-square, and this is happening between Saturn in Aquarius, the moon in Scorpio, and Mercury in the North Node, and I believe Venus all in Taurus. So a fixed sign T-square is a very pressurizing, challenging aspect pattern. When it shows up, it's time to have the courage, for us to have the courage of our convictions. It is time for us to say, I'm going to die on this hill. So what that means is we choose these causes very, very carefully. Now, on the 13th, that energy drastically shifts to a moon in Sagittarius trining Jupiter in Aries. So when you have this particular aspect, it means it's a good day to travel, it's a good day to explore your spirituality, and you might find that things you put into motion that day manifest in very prosperous, positive results. It just takes a while for the results to arrive. So it's another good manifestation day, but this one is all about energetic manifestation. And what I mean by that is, where do you put your willpower and why? Where is your energy going and why? These are both important questions to ask yourself and to answer before you move ahead to the full moon, which is on the 14th, depending on where you are in the world. And this full moon is on the Gemini-Sagittarius axis. So you might feel torn between singular vision versus exploring a variety as the spice of life. Or you may be torn between chatting with your friends versus focusing on what you need to do. So this full moon's going to be a little tricky, but it's not going to be like the last full moon we just had, because Mercury will be direct. So, yeah, it'll be an intense full moon, but not as intense as the first part of this year has been. Now, the full moon in Gemini is also known as the Festival of Humanity in esoteric astrology, so it's a good day to look at the accomplishments that we have achieved as a race. And for those of you that might be cynical and thinking that there's very few of those, I'll give you some ideas. I like climate control. I like sitting in my house right now with air conditioning on in the middle of summer in the Northern Hemisphere. I like screens on my windows that prevent bugs from getting in. All of these things are nice because they allow me to put my energy on other things that matter and not have to worry about such trivial things as being uncomfortable physically. The 15th, we have the moon in Capricorn squaring the Jupiter in Aries, so watch your spending. It's a good day to penny pinch. It's also a good day to take control of your finances. And that same moon in Capricorn is trining Uranus in Taurus. So it's a good day to be yourself within reason. And I think that's an important point. So many times people put so much emphasis on being unique and being an individual that it actually ends up working against them. That's the caution for this day. Be careful you don't fall into that trap. And on the 16th, we've got that same moon in Capricorn conjunct Pluto. So for both those days, the 15th and the 16th, you may find that it's a good time for personal transformation, but also watch your temper. Now on the 16th, the moon is also squaring Mars, Chiron, and Jupiter all in Aries. So here again, be careful that you choose the right, responsible, mature course of action rather than the here, hold my beer moment. And then finally, also on that day, we have the moon trine Venus in Taurus. So it's a good day to make money changes. And when I say money changes here, I mean, how much are you saving? Where are you putting it? What about any kind of other resources. Now is a good time to face those and address those. On the 17th, we have the moon in Aquarius trining Mercury in Gemini, which is also sextiling Jupiter in Aries. So long story short, the 17th is a great day to formulate a plan in your mind. That's the air side. And then move ahead post haste, because you might find out that what you get out of the day is bigger and more positive than expected. On the 18th, we've got the moon in Aquarius conjunct Saturn there as well, squaring Venus and Taurus. So when the moon is conjunct Saturn, it tells us that your fears might be distorted, or you might have problems letting go of the past. And since Aquarius is here, then this has to do with groups. So on the 18th, you might find that it's hard to let go of things that have happened in society that have worked against you. It's always wise to let go and detach, but on this day in particular, you might find that it costs you money, or you might find that it costs you love. So be very careful. On the 19th, we've got the moon in Pisces squaring Mercury in Gemini. So watch your words, especially spiritual words. Your creativity may be overwhelming to the degree that you don't communicate with others, or maybe you communicate with others and you miss a golden opportunity to express your creativity. So watch out for that. And on the 20th, we have the moon in Pisces, conjunct Neptune in Pisces. So it's a good day for channeling. It's a good day for mediumship work. It's a good day for creativity. And all of this is squaring the sun in Gemini. So you might feel torn or have challenges that day between the mind and the emotions, the intuition and the intellect. They might not be working well together. So I would encourage you to watch out for that. Then on the 21st, we have solstice. If you're in the southern hemisphere, it's winter solstice. If you're in the northern hemisphere, it's summer solstice. And I'm not sure if we've talked about this in videos or not, but I want to point it out because this is something you can experience on your own to see astronomy in action. The summer solstice in the northern hemisphere is when the sun is at its highest point in the southern sky throughout the whole year. Now, for those of you in the southern hemisphere, it means the sun is at the lowest point in the sky for the year. So, regardless of where you are on the planet, it's a day where you might be prone to extremes. If you're in the northern hemisphere, it's the longest day of the year. If you're in the southern hemisphere, it's the longest night of the year. So plan your ritual work accordingly. On the 22nd, we have Jupiter in Aries, sextiling Mercury in Gemini, squaring the sun in Cancer, and the moon is conjunct Mars in Aries. And yeah, that was a mouthful, so if it went right over your head, don't worry, I got you covered. Basically, now is a good day on the 22nd to use communication, specifically personal communication, to unlock doors of prosperity and expansion that are in line with your willpower and your vision for your life. But in so doing, you might get a little rattled because it's taking you out of that comfort zone, which is the sun in Cancer. Now, the moon conjunct Mars tells us you're probably going to have more energy than normal. You might also feel things more passionately than normal, and you might want to charge ahead. So that makes this a good day to continue moving ahead with projects that you've had going on for a while. The 23rd is kind of an active day. We have Venus moving into Gemini, we have the moon moving into Taurus, and the sun in Cancer is squaring Jupiter in Aries. So, point blank, the 23rd might be kind of rough. Anytime you have this much activity happening astrologically, it's probably going to cause shakeups. So if you wanted to take the 23rd as a vacation day and hide in your blanket for it, you might want to consider it. Then on the 24th, we have the moon conjunct Uranus in Taurus, and I talked about this earlier, and we see that this theme revisits here. On the 24th, you may have a desire to individually express yourself or show your own eccentricities more than normal because it feels good. But if you do it to an extreme, it's probably going to work against you. So, all things in moderation. Now, on the 25th, we have the sun in Cancer squaring Jupiter in Aries, and we have the moon in Taurus squaring Saturn in Aquarius. And long story short, the moon squared Jupiter tells us that it's not a good day to impulse buy. It's not a good day to say, I'm going to change everything and let the cards fall as they may. But it's also not a good day to retreat from what you have to do. Now, the moon in Taurus squaring Saturn in Aquarius tells us that you might want to just stuff your face with all kinds of good food and drink. But if you do, it might work against your body, specifically your skin and the oxygenation levels of your blood. On the 26th, we have the moon conjunct Venus in Gemini. This is pretty fun, actually, because on the 26th, what it's telling us is you might be more full of love than normal. You might also find good bonding experiences with people as you ridicule or criticize things. And then on the 27th, right on the heels of that, we have the moon conjunct Mercury in Gemini. Long story short, with the 27th, with the moon conjunct Gemini, that's a good day to chat. Now, I realize if you're in management in any kind of business, what I'm going to say next is probably going to drive you crazy, but I'm telling you what to expect in the workplace. On the 27th, you can expect people to be chattier. You can expect people's attention spans to be shortened. You can expect to jump from one subject to another or have to constantly herd cats back to the task at hand. So on the 27th, it's a better day to just fill your time with a variety of activities rather than just focusing on one. But this also means if you do have people working under you in a professional level, or you're a parent and your children are acting all kinds of crazy that day, this might be a good day to just let them do it. Then on the 28th, we have the new moon in Cancer. On the 29th, we have a sun-moon conjunction, of course, because of the new moon on the 28th in Cancer, but that conjunction is squaring Jupiter in Aries. So you might find that if you have a desire to retreat into your home and avoid the outside world, it'll work against those plans that we discussed earlier in this video about moving ahead on new opportunities for prosperity and expansion. Then on the 30th, we have the moon in Cancer squaring Mars in Aries. So here again, you might be accident prone through a house if you hurry through things. While you might be wanting to move ahead, there might be a part of you that is nervous about leaving its comfort zone. But as I've said countless times, no growth happens in a comfort zone. And if you don't believe me, just ask any seed that has sprouted into a plant. But then also on that day, we have the moon in Cancer trining Neptune in Pisces. So it's a good day to indulge in your spirituality. It's a good day to indulge in your creativity and put your plans for moving ahead with new projects on the back burner until early July, a few days later. Now, I realize that I whipped through this material all pretty fast, and you can tell that there's a lot in there. But really, the key for this month is paying attention to the moon. For the first half of the month, the sun is in Gemini, but then after solstice, the sun moves into Cancer, and the moon is the ruling planet of Cancer. So the later we get into the month, the more the moon is going to have sway over our emotions. Our intuition is probably going to be sharpened. But also with this might come the desire to cling to tradition and the patterns that you know rather than trying something new. And in the long run, that will work against you. So I hope all this makes sense. As you can see, the further that we get into the month, the more there is emphasis on Aries too. And that is what I was referring to earlier in the video when I said now is a good time to move forward. With all the activity in Aries now and all the activity in Aries that is coming up, that's the green light you've been looking for. That's the signal. Full steam ahead. All systems go. If you don't have your ducks in a row by the time that solstice gets here, it's probably going to work against you and you're not going to meet your goals and have success. So I encourage you to take the first week or two of June to outline what you want to do, then make a commitment to yourself on solstice, whether it's a ritual or just a declaration of your intentions, to move ahead on those projects. The only downside to all this can be found in that day of the subtle Mars influence when the moon is in Scorpio and Mars is in Aries. In other words, too much of a good thing. So you might be so focused on moving ahead that you forget to honor your stable foundation underneath you. Or maybe impulsiveness is what's guiding you ahead when in reality it should be methodical thought. Now, of course, if you have a lot of planets in Cancer, Libra, or Capricorn, all of this Aries energy is probably going to drive you nuts because all of those are cardinal signs and they don't mesh well together. So if you are one of those people, good luck. I really don't have many words of wisdom or comfort to share with you because it's only going to get more severe and more intense as the month goes on. But here's the good news. The good news is that's going to work as agitation energy to spur you into action, to create the change that you need. And while it might be uncomfortable, it's really just Alchemy 101, changing lead into gold. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this. We will be back next month in July for the next astrological preview. As always, you can keep up with us on the Cult of You on Facebook, on the website. The daily horoscopes that I do will continue to be on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. The monthly horoscopes on my website, 418ascendant.com. And of course, I encourage you to review this periodically throughout the month and see how everything lines up for you. It's better to be proactive rather than reactive. And reviews are very important. How else do we know how to move forward if we're not reviewing where we've come from and what we're doing? Anyway, until we chat again, may we all receive blessings of good health, prosperity, and success as we move forward in the next month of our lives. So mote it be, or my preferred shorthand version, SMIB.